What's going on, workforce? Brian here, and today I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I had off of the recent Gaming Union interview that Yoshi-P gave. Really, where they're kind of talking about Final Fantasy XI Mobile, Final Fantasy XI, 14, Final Fantasy 20. There's a lot to unpack here. And first, I just wanted to kind of just jump in and put in my 2 cents and see what you guys think. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just do this thing. So first and foremost, I think one of the interesting takeaways from this interview, and the link is in the description below, I would recommend you guys go give this a full read through, see what you take out of it, is that Yoshi-P talks about trying to keep, I guess, his team in check in regards to excitement, because he says that they all have so many really good ideas, but when you look at the time and the resources it's going to take to be able to implement it, sometimes that's just not reasonable. And so he feels that sometimes his job is to temper expectations. And as somebody who, I guess, lived in that world before, I can fully understand and relate to that. You never want to kind of be seen as a killjoy, but at the end of the day, it's like we have only so much time and so much resources that we can devote. Where do we need to, put that? What do we need to build up? What do we need to invest in and attack next? And so, it shows that kind of, the human side and the business side of the development piece. And so that, the team in and of itself, and I think the key takeaway here is hugely excited and energetic by the game. The game continues to be successful, continuing to get more and more people. And that in and of itself is very healthy and and very good. And the fact that the development team is excited is great. The fact that you have to temper those expectations, that's even better, because if it was a lack of motivation or the team was like, well, what do we want to do? Then that's a harder thing to overcome, as opposed to saying, those are great ideas. How can we implement those either over time, or how do we make sure that it's implemented correctly? And everybody's going to have their opinion on what, they like, best out about any patch or any expansion. I'm not trying to, say that everything they do is gold, because absolutely, from my perspective, I have my opinions and things that I enjoy specifically, but it's really good to see that from a development standpoint, and somebody who works in development having excitement, having that motivation, having the team who's building the content happy and wanting to go and do more, in my mind, is always a good thing. And, I trust Yoshi-P and his leadership from that perspective. There's kind of a mosquito. Yeah, all the fun things that I have to do with the house this week. So anyway, that was my first takeaway. Going on in that, he goes then to talk about kind of the business division one, which they're in, Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy 14. And he doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense for developers to have more than one MMO. But obviously we have 11 and 14, and will Square Enix ever make another MMORPG, or does it make sense just to keep expanding the existing Final Fantasy 14? And his opinion is that, yeah, it makes sense to keep expanding the Final Fantasy 14, and he even cited WoW and their failed Project Titan, which eventually became Overwatch, which was a huge success in and of itself. So it's very difficult to transition, and you kind of see that right now with Destiny and Destiny 2, where they've transitioned into a whole new, game. And because of that, there's everything that we've kind of left behind is still left behind. It's hard to have that one-to-one and say, okay, you have all of this and more. And that ends up being more, I guess, suited or better suited to that of the expansion as opposed to anything else. But he talks about it, and he then goes into kind of mention Final Fantasy XI Mobile. And this is really interesting, because I know I'm very interested in it. A lot of people are interested. We haven't heard much about it. What is it? What is it going to be? And he says that right now they're in the processes of finalizing the battle system. And that's great. That's exciting news. And he says that with that, after which we're going to see some kind of an official announcement about the game. And obviously, I think that's going to bleed easily into 2018. If they're finalizing and kind of working on the battle system itself, hopefully that means that they are getting very close to saying, here you go, and here's what it is. I know there's a lot of people, like I said, myself included, are very interested to see what it is going to be, how it's going to function, how it's going to carry on the legacy for us, that nostalgia piece, but also the game and kind of, introducing that story and that world to more people. I think that's what's important. I think that's the risk of obviously the online game, is that, all of a sudden this experience can't, be contained, and maybe this is a way that can live on with a refreshed type of system and a whole different kind of business model. I don't know. I'm not a fan of free-to-play games. I'm not a fan of microtransactions. Pay-to-win strategy. So hopefully, it isn't that. But from the screenshots we've seen, obviously it appears there's going to be some kind of premium currency. But again, pure speculation on my part. Don't take what I'm saying as fact because we don't know. But the good news here, the takeaway is that Yoshi-P is aware of where it's at. He is, saying that there's going to be an official, announcement soon. And that is exciting. So I don't know what it is, but I am very much looking forward to it. Now, the other thing that he goes into talk about this interview is the idea that, to run multiple MMOs is very difficult for a company. And so it makes more sense to continue expanding 14. And if they, were to ever do another MMO RPG, and then in the interview, they're talking about Final Fantasy 20, where, obviously that's 6 Final Fantasies mainline numbered titles from the existing 14 today. We have 15 already. That assumes 16, 17, and 18 and 19, are released at some point, and then eventually 20, which would be another MMO RPG. That would be a huge, and that's also probably at least somewhat of a decent gap. But again, with any new MMO RPG, just like with Destiny to Destiny 2, 20 could be in this case just a complete start over from scratch. Game, a whole new experience, a whole new story and world. That doesn't necessarily relate. And the reason that, 14 had a lot of similarities with 11 was to help with that transition, but it doesn't seem, at least what I'm gleaning from this interview, is that it doesn't seem like that would necessarily happen with 14 to 20 in this case. But it's still interesting. But he says there's still plenty of things to do in Final Fantasy 14. There's still plenty of development. Obviously, they just had 4.1, come out. We're going to see 4.15 soon, going into 4.2 and then even 4.3, which he does confirm that they are working on a new Ultimate Battle, which is what we expected or suspected, but it's good to have actually that confirmation that every odd patch we're going to have a new Ultimate fight, which is great for especially those hardcore raiders. I cannot wait to watch more, and who knows what it's going to be, the next round, because it really, in my opinion, anything goes with it. But just the fact that they're talking about 11 mobile, that he's talking about 14, that the developers are excited. As an engineer, as a developer myself, this is nothing but the great information. I love getting more of that peek behind the curtain from the business standpoint, from the management standpoint. And you know what? But that's just me. I'm a huge video game industry nerd outside of just being a video game nerd itself. But that's where I'm going to leave it here, guys. Check out the interview. There's a lot to unpack in this interview in and of itself, and I'm not going to sit here and read it to you. You can go read the interview. They even have a link to the video because so the Gaming Union has a video on this, on the page, just to verify. Yes, they do. Go check it out. Give them some love, give them some support, and guys, thank you guys so much for the support this week. The great comments. Hopefully, I'll be getting back to a normal schedule soon. Thanks for watching this video. I hope to see you in my next. But until then, y'all have a fantastic week. Take care. Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click here to subscribe and here to maybe check out some more of our videos. So again, thanks for watching. We hope you like this video. We hope you subscribe and join our community. Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll see you next time.